Hi, and welcome to our fifth module in our series to help you become a better leader. To remind you, the aim of these modules is to reduce the psychological pressure that you experience in many of your work interactions by providing you with validated, easy to apply models. And this week, we're going to be looking at building engagement. So, what's the aim of building engagement? Well, it's got to be to improve performance. There's a thing called the 10-6-2 rule that says that for every 10% improvement in engagement, people will increase their efforts by 6%, which will lead to a 2% improvement in performance across all metrics. Now, leaders set the tone for the organization, and that's because it's not the employment contract that determines how hard someone works, but the quality of the relationship that that person has with their boss and with the organization. This is known as a psychological contract. And that's because 70% of people's perception of their own satisfaction or engagement comes down to their relationship with their boss. And it's why we say that people don't leave an organization, they leave their boss. So your leadership is critical. And here are the impacts of strong engagement. Firstly, employees will speak positively about the organization. That's because they've got a psychological connection to it. They're the true believers. Next, employees will want to stay with the organization. They're more emotionally committed. Thirdly, employees will go the extra mile. They'll display greater discretionary effort. There's three indicators of that. They volunteer more, they help their colleagues more, and they constantly look for ways to do their job better. Imagine if everyone came through the door in the morning and said, how can I do my job better? Now that's defined in two ways. They'll look for ways to increase revenue or to reduce costs. So engaged employees perform some 20% better, and they're 87% less likely to leave. At a granular level, they're the ones that provide better customer service, they're making fewer errors, they're controlling their costs, their work's of higher quality, they've got greater loyalty. They're impacting the bottom line in a positive way. Their performance, productivity, and profitability is higher. Conversely, the impacts of poor engagement. There's a lack of interest being demonstrated by leaders in their people, which is driving widespread dissatisfaction within the workforce. And this is resulting in organisations failing to get the best out of their workforce. Now, in Australia, only 24% of employees are actively engaged, while 16% are actively disengaged. What this means is that most workers are simply turning up. These people are not doing all they can to provide great service or to reduce errors, to reduce turnover and absenteeism, to help their colleagues or reduce costs. In short, most workers, some 60%, display all the hallmarks of low discretionary effort. They're emotionally disconnected, they're less productive, they're essentially checked out. So these workers are putting in the time, but not the energy and passion to maximize their efforts. They're doing just enough to fulfill their work requirements. Now imagine if you could move some of these people into the highly engaged category. What difference would that make for your organization? So what can you do about it? Well, there's so much research around what engages people. But at the heart of it is this idea that people want to feel that they can contribute, that they've got a role to play, and that they're growing, learning, developing, and getting better with their organisation. So as a leader, there's 5 pillars that you can employ to drive performance. And organisations that execute these 5 pillars well are 4 times more likely to have highly engaged employees. Let's go through them now. You can stop this video at any time and actually read the pillars. I'm going to talk a little bit about them. Pillar 1, our deepest urge as humans is to feel valued, feel that we matter. And employees who don't feel valued rarely make valuable contributions. And when people feel unrecognized in their work, there's a drop in commitment, there's a drop in engagement. For them, work becomes a transaction rather than something they're emotionally connected to and committed to. Here too, People want greater clarity from their leaders around the direction of the organization. And you've got to be 10 times more clear about this than you think you have to be. In fact, 64% of leaders feel that employees understand priorities and objectives, but less than 2% actually do. So pillar 3, this is perhaps the most effective performance lever that you can pull. Why? Because it's almost impossible to improve your performance if you don't know how you're going and you don't know what your boss wants you to do differently. So this is twofold. Give greater feedback on how people are performing and make it more clear around what your expectations are, what you want people to be doing differently. Pillar 4, I said a moment ago, our deepest urge is to feel that we matter. We need to feel that our work matters. This is your biggest challenge. You need to make everyone who works for the business feel that their work makes a difference, that success for the organization depends on them. Your role is to let people know that what they do is vital. In fact, all the best strategies, all the best platforms, all the best systems in the world are irrelevant if people don't do their jobs well. Pillar 5, if your employees don't know what's great about your organization, then there's no way that your customers will. You want employees to be the advocates for your business. Organizations with great engagement constantly talk about their value propositions, their differentiators, their competitive advantage. And research shows that employees who understand what their business stands for, what differentiates them from competitors, they're the ones that are much more likely to be engaged and to actively support and endorse the company's products and services. Now, underpinning these 5 pillars is the fact that people want to learn, grow, and develop. Nothing's more important for engagement. In fact, the number one reason why people leave businesses today is because they feel they're not growing and developing. So you need to take responsibility for helping people to learn and to develop. In fact, developing your people is the number one mid to long-term profit maximizing and growth strategy available to any business. Now, lastly, great leaders make people feel safe. And when people feel that the leader has their back, when the leader's in their corner, then cooperation and trust is engendered. In that situation, people will strive harder and they will achieve more. So use the 5 pillars, build an engagement plan for your team, get the environment right, and you'll find that people can achieve extraordinary things. They'll overachieve, they'll surpass your expectations. Good luck, and I'll talk to you next week.